And we're back here in Austin, Texas for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series as we get into the second half of our quarterfinals to determine who will go up to try and dethrone Cyril as the reigning WCS champion. I'm Nathanius, joined by Rapid and Fear Dragon. We had a pretty memey discussion because it seems like nobody can really beat Cyril. But if he is to go to the grand finals, then now we are going to find out who the one person that will be left to fight him will be. And in this first match, our two options are going to be between MaNa and Snute. How are you guys feeling about this tournament so far?
You know, I was talking with MaNa and Snute, and of course, those two players are teammates. It's going to be a team liquid kill, but they're so friendly with each other. They're also rooming in the same room together. So it's so funny. I was hearing from Alaris out there in the crowd. She was saying, yeah, you know, they've just been sitting in their beds last night. They were both sitting on their laptops just looking at each other like, yeah, I'm studying your VODs. Like, yeah, I'm studying your VODs. MaNa was saying that he was just going to fart in Snute's face when he was sleeping to mess with him. So they've just been fully embracing this.
I did not need to know that, Rapid. Tell me something else.
You know, I always wonder how people get this kind of information. Like, where is the camera in the teddy bear's eye or something?
I mean, that's the real secret is that I just put a camera in everyone's hotel room.
Robbie, the mastermind of WCS,
Now we know why he's so well informed on everything.
With the secret strats. I knew there was a secret to it, Robbie. I'm glad we're getting to the bottom of that. We don't have In Control up here to crunch the numbers. Somebody's got to get to the bottom of it in...
Just get the real numbers without crunching them. There you go.
In seriosity, the best way that I can talk about Team Liquid team kills is that not only do they happen all the time, but oftentimes when they do, it's kind of hard to figure out who's going to come out on top.
Yeah.
For WCS's, predicting anybody but Snute to do very well always seems like a risky choice, but this time MaNa is just looking fantastic. Reminds me a little bit of Lambo, just having a fantastic tournament.
I think the difference here is that Lambo is a player that we've seen on his way up, whereas MaNa is a player that we kind of been like, oh yeah, you know, he used to be really good, but we know that he does other stuff. We know he plays other games. So his StarCraft performance is kind of here and there. But this tournament, it seems he's really kicked it into overdrive, and in his own aggressive language, he's been practicing a lot.
Yeah.
MaNa's, I feel, performance is kind of like a Viper's mana or energy, where it's just constantly going down and then up and then down and then up. He just has so many ups and downs. But right now he's on one of those big upswings, and he's looking really
He's been consuming for a solid 45 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right. He's like the plankton in the ocean. He's just always there. Sometimes deadly. Who knows?
That's not what I wanted to say. Okay, so yeah, we saw MaNa defeat tournament favorite Neeb, one of the few players that we would have said could beat Cyril. Gone, defeated by MaNa. MaNa said that Neeb did not take his aggressive builds very seriously. He tried to go for long macro games. Does MaNa have to rely on aggressive play to win this tournament?
I think I can't really speak for the tournament. I feel like that's almost looking too far ahead. For his match versus Snute, Snute is typically known for having very, very good late game. I mean, that is what everyone thinks of Snute for. He is very fully capable of throwing out some of the cheeses. We saw him getting pretty aggressive in some of his previous series during this event. But I think that MaNa is probably still going to be thinking, I need to try and do, or want to try and do some sort of aggression early on in at least most of these games.
I think MaNa really highlighted that nowadays, ever since Overlord Drop had been moved to Lair Tech, he felt pretty good about the P and the PvZ. So I got to say, I'm loving the momentum behind him. I think if anybody can take out Snute in a match between MaNa and Snute, it would be MaNa.
Yeah, the mind games are also very present as they are teammates. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to introduce our two Team Liquid players. Onto the main stage, we've got Smix to take us to this team kill.
You are correct, Nathanius. It is a liquid team kill to see which player will be moving on to the semifinal. Which player in blue will it be in the top four? It's MaNa and Snute.
Two good friends passing by to their booths as they get ready for what is sure to be an exciting match. MaNa, I think, really catching the crowd off guard at this tournament, playing extremely well, and always such a nice guy, gives great interviews, someone that people are very happy to see go this far. Snute is the player that we expect to make these deep runs, always able to get very far, get a lot of WCS points, even if he doesn't pick up championships.
Yep, and I think specifically for MaNa, if you look at this bracket, the Protoss you expect to make it the farthest used to be Neeb. Well, he's not here anymore, so now the Protoss hope lies, I guess, partially in the hands of MaNa. And for somebody who has co-opted the Neeb cheer, with people, doing that in the crowd. I feel like he really does have that legacy kind of behind him carrying forward.
Yeah, I feel like Snute and MaNa are also just such big fan favorites. Both of them have been playing for StarCraft 2 for ages in the competitive pro scene. Both of them have great streams as well. They're both really likable guys. And I think that most importantly for me, they're both so passionate about the game. They're so emotional. They put everything on the line. And when they lose, it hurts. But when they win, you also feel that too.
Yeah, a little known fact about MaNa. He once went on a great ladder winning streak while having his face completely duct taped together on his stream. He is just a very good StarCraft player and a funny guy with an odd sense of humor. Although Snute he hasn't broken out his stunner shade since his IEM Toronto performance either, so.
Yeah.
Both funny characters.
Yeah, Snute's kind of like the cool cat, and then MaNa's kind of like the guy who's just going to give you the death stare.
Yeah.
As a funny guy with an also odd sense of humor, I feel a little bit of a kindred spirit with MaNa.
Yeah,
and
these guys are fun to hang out with.
Absolutely. We were actually just talking to MaNa over there. He's super upbeat. Sounds like he had a great night last night and didn't fall prey to any of the shenanigans we heard about earlier.
Yeah, so this series, I think, is one to definitely look forward to as MaNa and Snute, both very storied players. They've both been playing for such a long time. They both have several championships under their belt, and they've played in front of the biggest stages, so nerves aren't really something to be brought here. I guess the question that I would ask you guys as we wait for the players to get ready, how much do you think mind games could play into this because they were buddies, because, as you said, they're staying together?
It's going to be everything,
Just
I think.
quickly.
It's going to be the entire thing. And I think that they're both in really jovial moods, which I feel like whenever players are in more happy moods, they tend to be more willing to just dive into mind games and weirdness because it's just more fun StarCraft.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get this Team Liquid Team Kill underway. It's time for MaNa versus Snute.
Thank you very much, Nathanius and the boys at the desk. This is a Team Liquid kill match. Both these guys have won enough games to get to this place, and only one can advance, Roddy.
As we are hopping into our first game here on Catalyst, a very standard map, and we're looking at the last Proto space remaining in this tournament, Jeff. Representing Team Liquid, of course, as both of them are. Give it up for MaNa.
Awesome MaNa fans in the audience, but he's not alone. In the top left-hand side, also from Team Liquid, it's Snute. Hopefully well-rested. He had quite the journey here. Both these guys, okay. Well, it's getting weird. And I knew it was going to get weird with that pylon right there.
What?
And this is bonkers.
Wow.
It's a second pylon. I mean, third pylon, really.
Yeah, no, he's going to tuck it in. I mean, Turkey Dano and Printf are so proud right now. They're like, yes, we've been streaming for a month. That cannon will not go down. Against a single drone, do you think he's going to go the full Turkey Dano Printf special where eventually he's going to get immortals and shield batteries and everything?
Yeah. And the nice thing about this is you can't just cancel the hatch and go take something else. This is a full-on, like you said, prolonged attack. That cannon is going to defend this. That cannon right there reaches the natural. He's taking gases in the main.
I was very surprised to not see a single drone go south side of this contain. And now indeed Snute does send one more drone out, because this is where things get a little bit more complicated. Now obviously MaNa can keep up this contain for a long time. No, you don't want to send that drone back into cannon range. It's really important Snute keeps that cannon on. Wait, no, what? He's gonna... Ooh, that would have been a big mistake.
He caught it. The drone is being harassed here right now. And I believe there's a Cybernex core, back at home as well for a complete wall-in, I believe.
Yep. So obviously MaNa will probably eventually get that robotics facility. I'm surprised he gets another cannon here, but...
I like it.
Just to solidify the contain.
Yeah, one cannon at this distance, you can otherwise pick off with a couple of queens and links around that. And then when the creep spreads, then all of a sudden it's harder to get the cannons to reach that hatchery, because the hatchery has to go down. That's not the full end of the strategy. He's going to kill the hatchery, but also wants... I'm just going to break away from this. I just love it. I love that he's throwing Snute for this loop right now.
I did not expect to see this build come out here in game number 1 on Catalyst, a normally very standard, straightforward map. Now, Snute has one thing going for himself, that's that drone. Can we take a look at that drone that's still being chased by this probe? Because obviously this drone could this drone could become problematic for Snute. If Snute gets a hatchery, maybe gets a couple of lings on the other side of this contain, but MaNa keeps an eye on it, and that is the only drone that's going down on the other side of the map. So Snute is getting a bailing nest, going roaches and ravages in general doesn't cut it.
And as time goes on, the drone, by the way, everything you just described becomes null and void. Like the earlier the hatch goes down, yes, that's a worry. But if this is like a 6-minute proxy hatch, no. I mean, now we got warp gates, now we got stargates.
Okay, now MaNa doesn't exactly know what Snute is doing, right? Some people used to go roaches and ravages, but that just doesn't really cut it, because batteries heal up the cannons, time goes by, immortals come out, immortals and warp prisms will destroy roaches and ravages. So I think Snute is going to go for one big boss. He's probably going to run forward with like 8 or 10 bailings and hope that he can just completely overwhelm the cannon and battery count from MaNa.
But breaking away from this, I love Observer, our dedication to this, but we just had a shade into the main. Now MaNa knows what he's up against.
I would like to see more cannons then. He didn't see everything. I mean, he saw gas being... Okay, I would like to see more cannons. I think the more the merrier at this point, because Snute has one shot. He needs to blow up those cannons and batteries before the immortal count goes high. So it's now or never for Snute. He knows it. I mean, if technically, if you blow up the first 3
Immortal's
cannons...
good too, though.
It is. I mean, actually, that's 5 cannons. Oh my goodness, it is 6. I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah.
This isn't looking all that good for Snute right now.
Who else doesn't know? Snute doesn't know. He does get the hatchery down outside the base, but like I said, it's so late that it just doesn't really matter. There's all the lings. They show it. There's not going to be that many lings and then also roaches. I have to believe MaNa knows what's going on here. And Snute's going to go for it. So here come the Baneleys. They're waddling forward. The Queen's going to try to anchor some damage from them as well. And this has to be it. They're going to go force, but as the Ling's up against it, the Baneleys get a connection against 2 cannons. Is that going to be enough? I don't think so. The shield battery recharging the cannon. Snute able to crack the front cannons, but that's just the front cannons.
Yep, second Immortal is still alive. 2 cannons still standing strong. And obviously Snute in a lot of trouble at this point as MaNa is busting out those real NA builds over here, Jeff.
Tell you what, he definitely cannon rushed Snute, but he might have cannon rushed their friendship as well. This is like it's like when you do this kind of thing, you look over across the stage, you're like, really, MaNa? Really? Is that how you want to win? He's like, yeah.
Snute sends an email to the manager of Team Liquid. Can we get rid of this Polish Protoss?
Roughly the difference between, what, third and... Anyways. So MaNa's going to reinforce this. He still hasn't expanded as well, and what's kind of interesting, by the way, this is the one probe outside of the map. So if he does want to take that out, he's got to think about that. But now it's warp gate, or it's, no, that's it. He's done. MaNa's got the victory.
MaNa takes the 1-0 lead here as the last Protoss in this tournament. What are you giggling at, Jeff?
I always like the look on players' faces after a game like that. Snute, that's about right. MaNa, he's just like, well, on to the next game, I suppose. It can't get weirder than that one, can it, Snute? Can it?
What a way to do this as well in game number 1. You know what I want to mention, but obviously this game was action-packed right off the get-go, is that Snute decided to veto Acid Plant.
Okay.
And that shocks me a little bit, because Snute is known as such a standard defensive player that likes the normal maps. Acid Plant is one of the most normal common maps in this current map pool. But Snute decided to veto Acid Plant. MaNa went for Redshift as his veto, which I'm not shocked by, because that map gets weird with the gold base, and it's better for Zerg than it is for Protoss. But I mean, now we're going to hop into Dreamcatcher. A little bit later, we get Darkness Sanctuary.
That's what I'm saying. That's interesting. Interesting that he went for that, because that would be the go-to veto usually for a Zerg player. It was get rid of the 4-player big map, but it's okay to be in there. Austin, you guys have been awesome. I want to give a special shout out, by the way. We haven't given enough love to these guys, but this whole tournament has been brought to you by 2 lovely observers. We've had Insano and Mapu back here toiling away. So yes, thank you. Crowd supporting of them as well, but just to kind of show how supportive this community is as well. Can I get a shout out for tacos as well, audience? Can we put our hands together for tacos in general? All right? Because it's important to keep those observers humble. You know, if they get too proud, then they start running DreamHack and stuff like that. And I don't know, you know, you got to keep it within. We don't have any observers.
Alrighty, we're getting ready to hop into game number 2. As you guys can see, we have loaded into Dreamcatcher as we are looking at the main base of our cheeky Protoss spawning on the south side of this map. Make some noise for MaNa.
Not a bad way to start off the best of 5.
No.
And his opponents, the top left-hand side, hoping to normalize this series. It's Snute. You know, one of the things to break down here too, Kevin, though, we had that awesome kind of ticker going by showing their kind of back and forth, and Snute, no mystery here, has been the more successful player, both in map score and of course in series, and in a dominant way, by the way. It's very much so in his favor. And we always ask the question, you know, if you're facing somebody that has been beating you and is better on paper, do you just keep doing the same thing, or do you break from the mold? That last game, nobody, there's no way we interview someone, they're like, oh yeah, MaNa's been doing that a lot.
Yeah.
No. That was improv from one of our oldest players who won one of the first tournaments. You know, this is so cool to see.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, MaNa versus Nama in the final all those years ago. Was a runner-up back then. Eventually got his own DreamHack victory. Of course, won an ESWC back in the days as well. Snute got his own success and a lot of it, but a little bit later down the road.
Yeah.
As he won a couple of big tournaments. Snute has won tournaments all over the place as well. One in Mexico, one in China. Of course, won plenty of tournaments in Krefeld. That used to be his second home. Dennis was kind of supporting him.
Both these players, they've been around a long time. Team Liquid members for a lot of it, and just awesome to see them here. They were, I think it was MaNa talking about in his interview, the joke of like, what is this, 2012? It's like, that's kind of, it is a joke, but it's interesting too, because being consistent and successful in StarCraft is not an easy thing. We're really spoiled with how many people can do it, and by how many, I mean like 24. But otherwise, it's cool to see him hitting here. So MaNa does scout, but it's going to be fairly normal. That is a normal Nexus timing. Here comes the Adept. Usually you shade it forward, and it's not usually the beginning of some kind of huge all-in. It's to get some great scouting information. If the Zerg player does a misstep, a couple of Adepts can get some drone kills.
Yep. What's fun about MaNa is that in general, it's never a dull series with him. MaNa has a very aggressive Protoss, and I don't mean in the sense that all he does is all-ins, but he's just scrappy. He likes to go for multiple attacks at once. Had a little chat with him yesterday. He's like, yeah, even though I'm playing a lot better, he's like, I still feel I'm sloppy. I've got a lot of idle probes sometimes that I shouldn't have. He's like, every now and then I miss micro. But I said, I mean, then again, you're also always fighting at like 2-3 places at once. And then he started smiling. He's like, yeah, I do really enjoy doing that. So he's one of those Protosses you look at, and it doesn't look as streamlined as a Showtime or Neep when they are in shape, but he is very hectic, and obviously if the game is hectic for him, it becomes very hectic for the opponent as well.
Hey, he's a chore to play against, right? And as we just saw in that first game, he's also not too much of a stranger to breaking up the game. Now, this is something that I was wondering if we would see more of. Look at that wall-in for MaNa. It just now becomes more of a wall-in. But if you kind of skip out, if the Adepts don't get strung out here, and it's just the one Adept, you can cause some real havoc. Yeah, that being said, it's drones behind this, so Snute's not all in with this.
That's actually kind of bad, because he lost the Adept on the other side, so now he's going to lose quite a bit of DPS. This one Adept in the front is going to get picked off as well. Now, I do like that MaNa immediately re-walled, so he's safe, but that's still 2 Adepts he lost. We know that Protoss players often like to sync the Adepts up together with the Oracle to get those drone kills you mentioned earlier. That's suddenly not that much of a threat anymore.
Right. And also kind of, it's sending some information to MaNa, which could be how much of an attack's coming out behind this. But as we know, it's a very small investment for the Zerg to have Lings at that time. So I do like this move from Snute. Yep. And the Oracle's going to make its way kind of meandering out. It's seeing if there is a Baneling bust coming out behind this, because you'll notice there's no sentries or anything.
No. I mean, in some ways, this could hurt the Zerg, obviously, quite a bit, making this many Lings. But I love that Snute has been mining absolutely 0 gas. So, yes, he did morph quite a few Zerglings, but he also made damn sure to resaturate those mineral lines as quickly as possible. And just now, a second ago, he finally starts going back after he has 18 drones in the main, 16 to 18 drones in the natural. So, even though he invested in it, he made sure it didn't hurt his economy in the long run.
And MaNa does want to get out there. As we can see, the gold base has not been taken, but we've, you know, on stage at least seen those gold bases get taken. And if you really do get put back, as Roddy pointed out, you lose a couple of Adepts, your Oracles show up a little bit late, and all of a sudden they have the gold base. That's actually how you can just kind of just fall on your face and lose the game almost. But as it is, that's not the case. Gets a couple of drone kills there, and with the 2 Oracles, you can be pretty darn good about consistently scouting. Now behind this, Roddy, we're seeing quite the development tech-wise for MaNa.
Yeah, let's see how many gateways this ends up being, because he already has a couple of gates in the front, of course. That's 4 additional gateways, so that's going to bring him up to 6. That's a little middle down the road, right? It's not the crazy 8-gate all-in, but it's also not just a 4-gate Warp Prism pressure. So MaNa will expand behind this, but at the same time, he's like, hey, I absolutely do want to get something done with my Archons, and most likely quite a few Zealots, as all the charges on the way.
And this is kind of the MaNa special for me. Like, going all the way up to 8 is a meta build. Staying at 4 and expanding is the other side of the meta. and we've seen Archon harass that kind of thing. But MaNa does things a little bit his own way. I mean, Roddy talked about it being very chaotic, and that certainly is kind of a feature of it. But one of the fun things about watching MaNa play too is that you're not going to get just the meta build from him. You're going to get his own take on it, and that's hard to play against.
Beautiful timing on these roaches, though. The first roach is already in production. Every now and then you see the first roaches being produced.
Yeah.
By the time that the Zealots are already in the main, this is obviously very Snute-like. Having 5 queens gets quite a bit of damage on the Prism. Doesn't get it. Snute has to be careful, though, because roaches are on the way. They're not out yet, man. He really wants that Prism.
Yeah, it's very close. Is it a one-way trip for that Archon? He's like, come on, man, get closer. Picks it up, and it looks like he should be safe. No, you got to get out.
Oh, there's another queen. No, MaNa ends up losing the Prism with 2 Archons inside of it. An Oracle got picked off as well. So Snute, yes, he paid the price with those queens. Man, that was amazing.
Disastrous, and that's a little bit of what you get with MaNa. We were talking about this. It's not like he made the choice to be like, you know what? I'm going to throw these Oracles and Archons away. No, that's just kind of the sloppy play that does happen.
Yep.
Snute scoring that blood and getting the harassment at the third might even put some pressure here. Here come the roaches.
Yeah, MaNa's going to work on these rocks, which I do really like. He's going to try to trap a couple of them. That's well played, actually. Excellent use of these rocks.
Though?
I mean, now at least he buys some time for the Immortal, though, right? He needs time. I mean, that's pretty damn obvious. Now you can start working on these roaches. Snute is actually not paying attention there.
Both these players trying to donate some units back and forth. They are good friends.
Wow. Those rocks kind of saved him there, Jeff.
The rocks end up being a very good move. Gold Base going to be taken out behind this, and it is Hydras coming out to supplement those roaches. So where do we go from here with MaNa? He already has the Templar Archive. It was not a Dark Shrine used to make those Archons. So Storm, obviously very good against those Hydras, but then you have to be kind of careful, because if you go too deep on the Storm, then the roaches can kind of overwhelm you. And so some kind of equilibrium has to be found here.
Yeah, Storm is always fantastic, but a lot of Protoss players don't feel super safe when they have like 25 to 30 army supply, and they're like, should I go Storm now? Like, yeah, that's great. I'm going to land 2 Storms and have nothing else. So it's normal that MaNa wants to get a couple of Immortals out, more of the first few High Templars into Archons. But the moment he's going to see that very high Hydra count that Snute is working towards, then I am absolutely expecting him to go for Storm, or he's going to queue up Disruptors. You can see that MaNa's a little bit in the dark. He's like, man, I lost my Oracles. I don't have an Observer yet. I need extra Immortals.
Yeah.
Okay, he has 1 Observer. Then now he spots the Hydras. I don't know what...
It's a super Observer too, by the way. Yeah. It's the cheater one.
I'd like to see him... Okay, he goes second Robo, so then probably Robo Bay and go Disruptors, maybe? Or Colossus.
And Double Forge.
Yeah, maybe.
I was just going to comment about how his zero upgrade so far for our Protoss player, but with Double Forge, you can kind of catch back up pretty quickly.
I feel like even though Archon Immortal is very powerful against a very high Hydra count, I like to get either Colossus or Disruptors or Storm. It's one of the 3.
Yeah.
If it's not super high yet, then obviously this army of MaNa can deal with it. But, you know, it gets awkward with Zealots just running ahead of the army, and then if you're looking at 25 to 35 Hydras, the Zealots just disappear. They won't get anything done.
Second Evo for our Zerg player as well, as Snute is starting to kind of sneak out those Hydras to join up with his force. But he's going to get aggressive. Force fields do go down to make it a one-way trip for some of those guys. They're going to try to back out on the right side. 4 Zealots sneaking up into the natural over here. Just 4 Zealots, though.
And it's very nice, because Snute is pretty committed to this attack. Yes, he does have double Evo Chamber, but Snute is down 8 workers. Of course, he has the gold, so he's going to try to trade a little bit over here.
Yep, just a Ling flank, though. Force fields are going to kind of keep back the majority of this force. Pretty good concave for the Protoss player, and it will hold. That's a big defense right there. The 4 Zealots not scoring a lot in the way of damage, but they're getting some kind of confusion in the backfields. And Snute, just with the Lings on the right flank, not the most impressive kind of flank there. Fighting on this map can be tough. He's going through that choke area, so he's going to try the left side over here, Roddy.
I'm very impressed with the way that MaNa is playing this map. He's playing fully to the strength of this map, using the rocks, using the choke points. He's playing on it like he's done thousands of games already on this map. Snute is clearly looking for openings, and MaNa's just not giving him any.
No. And Snute had an army lead, still does a little bit, but each time he pokes and prods, the force fields are skewering a few more chunks of these units. And one of the things to keep an eye on, and there it is, I was just going to ask about this, but Snute is just kind of at that mid-tier tech. So now we see the Lurker Den going down, Infestation Pit as well. That's going to be the development. Oh, more Hydras are on attack move here. They're going to get picked off.
And look at that. He gets a lot of damage on both Archons, but he doesn't get the kill. If you click on both those Archons, that's like 25 hit points combined. I mean, obviously, he's going to heal them up now. Those things are painful as well. If you lose a couple Hydras, then at least take an Archon or 2 with you.
Exactly.
But he's just not getting much. If you take a look at the units lost resource tab, obviously this game started bad for MaNa, but now you can see Snute losing way more.
Let's get the cancel there, so that's a nice beginning. One of the things to kind of keep your eye on as well, we're up to 6 Immortals, 2 more coming out here as well, and if that kind of pack of Immortals gets really high, backed by Storm, and you're still only just now switching to Lurkers, Roddy?
Yeah.
Well, he's already got the counter for that, right? You want to hit Lurkers when they don't have quite that high of a count of Immortals, so be aware. Snute could be in trouble.
Yep, he's gonna end up losing a few Overlords here as well. And Lurkers are funny, right, against this composition, because attacking into that amount of Immortals is almost impossible with just Lurkers.
Yeah.
But having them in a strong defensive position, then as a Protoss, you have to still be a little bit careful.
Don't show it here. Snute getting a little bit overly aggressive. The whole army's right here. I loved the flank idea. He's trying to buy time.
Yeah.
He needs his tech to develop. He does not have the army to take on MaNa, but if he can keep him, delay the 4th, and then maybe flank with that force while then reimbursing himself with some Lurkers or something, that's a pretty good attack plan.
Good force field there. He's going to pick off 4 Hydras once again. But it's safe to say that Snute indeed is just buying time. He needs to get those Lurkers out.
Yeah.
We'll probably try to go into Broodlords as well, because obviously Broodlords is the dream against a lot of Immortals, against a lot of Archons. None of those units are good against Broodlords, but I don't think MaNa is going to give him the time. MaNa is going to try to go for it, and Snute needs more than 7 Lurkers against like 10 Immortals.
No, and his army's, I mean, one of the things when you do these flank attacks, look at those Hydras on the right side that they're just by themselves. He is setting up a concave, but they're kind of soft when they're only just Hydras over there, so you got to be careful. The gold base does go down.
The Lurkers.
Storm on the Lurkers, that's actually not the best Storm, because if they walk out of it like that, they can kind of ignore the majority of that damage.
Snute is kind of surrounding it. Snute is going to go for the fort base as well. Has a couple of Lurkers on the bottom side. He will be able to pick off these cannons, but it also means Snute barely has anything at home.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that the 5 Lurkers or so that he has over here are going to stop all these Immortals. Maybe he can pick up the Observer. That would be massive. The Observer.
MaNa going to try to get through this. That's quite the little choke area to get through. He's going to go for the Storms.
Observer.
Thinning out the force. His Observer
Got sniped. He
does
sniped the
get
Observer.
picked off, so he's not able to push through here, and he loses all the insulation for those Immortals. The Immortals need buffer. They're going to try to make their way back. And Hydra's as a distraction force, over here, getting some damage.
They're going to get a couple of High Templars, or maybe 1 in the end there. I mean, MaNa's going to snipe all these bases.
Snute won't pursue.
Snute, good job there in the end getting that Observer on the north side of this map, because if he didn't get that ops, it's safe to say the game just ends there, because MaNa's army was not going to get stopped by a couple of low HP Hydras. Look at these upgrades of MaNa. He's firing up 3-3 at this point. We do have that Great Aspire, but Snute's income is definitely not looking as fine as it did a couple of minutes ago.
You know what, though? I don't even think MaNa has Blink. I think he actually doesn't have Blink. No. So, like, 5 Broodlords show up, and if MaNa tries to take that fight, that's going to be a near impossible fight to take. Now, of course, the auto answer is you don't, but look how small this map is. Broodlords can take control pretty strong.
Hey, maybe Snute can actually use the rocks to his advantage this time. If MaNa wants to start getting aggressive, those rocks are still up, so he could potentially knock them down and get a couple of great plays. You make a valid point there. That Great Aspire is about to finish up. This is a single Lurker. That's all it is. This time there are 2 Observers.
It's way out of position. He's way out of. He's got to forfeit the base. I think he was defending some harass. There are 3 Broodlords about to show up. If MaNa can get this base, both Observers are picked off.
Wow,
So
that's a good snipe.
there's not really that many Lurkers here either, I don't think. He's actually going to storm himself on top of those. But he has no anti-air except for what, the 1 Archon in a Sentry?
Well, I mean, these Broodlords are actually taking a lot of damage from these storms, and now additional Archons are being morphed as well.
It might just be over.
That was a bad position to morph those Broodlords, Jeff. They actually all got picked off before they got a single shot off. Can these 2 Broodlords take care of those 3 Archons?
Well, I mean, at this point in time, even if they can, the damage has been done by MaNa. He's stomping through this. He's going to at least trade out for the army. The Archons are hitting. The Broodlords, 1 dies almost immediately. So there are just these Lurkers here. The Immortals getting low in health. Reinforcements coming in from MaNa. It's a 40 supply advantage for our Protoss player. He's on 4 bases. GG as Snute finds himself 0-2 against the Polish Protoss.
MaNa played that game so well, despite the fact that it looked like a little bit of a disastrous start, losing the Prism, losing an Oracle, losing 2 Archons inside of that Prism as well. But then the hold at home, maybe Snute got a little overeager, made a lot of Roaches and Hydras, really tried to push the issue, but MaNa played to the strengths of the map, really used those rocks incredibly well, then used the choke points well with the sentries. That was a very, very, very impressive stop by our Polish Protoss.
If it was a boxing match, Snute went for a bunch of body blow kind of jabs, and every single one of them was not only deflected, but then returned by MaNa's own jab. So the jabs were landing for MaNa. I'm not going to go too deep on this analogy, don't worry.
I like where you were going.
Yeah, it had some
I'm
semblance.
like visualizing it, like who's fighting who.
But then you're picturing like Snute and MaNa boxing, and then the whole immersion goes away. But
I'm thinking of big biceps of both of them, Jeff.
And they're ripped guys. They're probably under those sweatshirts. But so Snute
Maybe they should take the shirt off.
This is his gut check moment. And here's the weird thing, too. And not to make this too much of a thing, but this entire tournament has been 3-0s or 3-1s. Is Snute really about to give us our first Game 5 in reverse on MaNa? Is that even possible at this stage, Roddy?
I think it's absolutely possible. There's no way that I would have predicted this to be 3-0, and if it would have ever been a 3-0, I would have actually probably said Snute, because MaNa can be such a scrappy, hectic player, and sometimes things can fall apart. But he's been looking good, man. He's been putting in the hours. Like he said at home, he's been practicing truly hard this year, and it's paying off. And it feels so funny, right? Because that first game is so wonky, and it's funny. It's like, it's a cannon rush, it works. And then he just plays a really solid game 2 after a rough start.
Yeah. And
now he's only like, damn, MaNa's on point. And what does Snute do? I mean, the next map is going to be a very unique one. Darkness Sanctuary plays out obviously very, very different than we just saw Dreamcatcher and both Catalyst, of course, as well. Let's see what the spawning positions will be. But damn, Snute being on the ropes. I did not see this one coming, Jeff.
Nor did a lot of people. We're getting into game number 3 right now on Darkness Sanctuary. In the lower right-hand side from Poland, it's Team Liquid's MaNa. Okay.
Man, what a comeback. Can we get a Comeback of the Year award already for that young man?
We need that award.
Yeah, it's a great award. I mean, we are like 8 years into this game. It's time that we get those kind of awards. If you talk about awards, well, this man would absolutely be in the StarCraft 2 Hall of Fame after everything that he has achieved. But he's gonna need your support right now. Austin, make some noise for Snute.
Yeah, selfishly speaking, I'm not ready to be done casting. I need these guys to compete and play a little bit more for me and everybody else. But you can see the frustration with Snute. Even now, he's getting blocked.
Yeah, on the 4-player map, if you're having a best of 5, you're down 0-2, the last thing you ever want on a 4-player map is to be hatch blocked. You're like, come on, I can't catch a break. Now he's actually expanding towards MaNa. I'm not sure if that's part of his game plan.
Well, he's doing it because he has to. The probe was going up to the top left base already. And that's not a mistake, by the way. MaNa is one of the more clever probe players here, as he's almost getting a drone kill for himself.
Snute gonna go double hatch. Double hatch before pool. He has the money for it.
But then Snute begins to wonder, is he being baited into that? Is it then just a cannon rush? Can you imagine?
I mean, this is one of these openings where even the first adepts of MaNa are going to be very frustrating for Snute to deal with, because it's going to take a long time before links that spawn in the main base can do something about the couple of exposed drones that are being built at this 6 o'clock position. This is not the start that Snute wanted on a massive map like Darkness Sanctuary.
No. And MaNa might be the guy to defend us from seeing 4 Zergs at the end of this tournament. He's just pulling out quite the best of 5, by the way. I love that he started the first game with that cheese, something crazy we haven't seen all tournament long. And then game 2 just goes to rock solid defense and shows that he can do it that way as well.
Yep. I mean, MaNa being the best performing Protoss by a large margin. If he makes it to the semifinals, he's the only Protoss in the quarters. If he wins this one, he's going to be the only Protoss in the semifinals. I don't think anyone would have predicted MaNa to be our Protoss, to be our carrier of the race.
I think for a while now, when people ask about the absolute best Europeans, I mean, it's not like MaNa's been bad or something. It's just that you still talk about your Showtimes, your DNSs, and some of these other guys.
Drogo, Hearthstone, those have been your top 4.
You don't say MaNa, but now after this tournament, you're going to have to be put on notice. When MaNa's practicing and focused, might be a guy you start consider. So here's that first adept shading forward.
I wonder if this is going to be a Resonating Glaives opening, as Snute is going to work on his debris here, potentially make it a little bit harder for these
I want a Dark Shrine. I'm calling for full tilt.
I think Glaives is good here because the expand is actually quite close towards Snute. I don't think Snute feels comfortable making a bunch of roaches defensively early on because you're already down 0-2, and the last thing you ever want to do is build too many units, have a bad economy. I think with these spawning positions and the way that MaNa blocked Snute to expand, Snute is going to have a lot of drones at that base at 6 o'clock because that is the fresher expand. So if these Resonating Glaives can stay hidden for a little while, I don't think
you're right. Man, that probe on the left side of the map, it's the beginning, and there is like a tunnel on the left side of the map here too that leads into the natural and third.
And look at that Stalker. The Stalker is going to deny the Overlord Scout.
And the Tasteless tunnel even, a back alley.
The Tasteless Secret Hallway.
Tasteless Secret Hallway again.
It's back again. I mean, Snute has no idea that this is Resonating Glaives. This is not a super common opening. He is getting the Roach Wine at this point, but those Glaives adepts, they can show up at his base at like 440 or something, and it's going to be really rough to have Roaches in place because only now the Roach Wine has been built.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I bet he makes 4 callers as well. And that's the kind of amazing thing about the denial of information here. And Snute being 0-2 as he has to defend against everything.
It's resonating glaives into double Stargate. Are we going to get +1 air weapons as well, Jeff?
Was it nice that did this, I guess, right? But in close positions like this is even better.
Yeah, nice that it in he followed up with Void Rays. Now, I'm not expecting the double Void Ray build coming out of MaNa.
You aren't?
No, not
I am.
Double Void Ray?
Yes.
As a follow-up of
With
this?
how close these bases are, I think you will.
You never make Void Rays, Jeff. It's a trap.
Bro, you always make the
Do you
Void
see
Rays.
this macro support unit? It's better than your Void Ray.
That's true. But you still make them. You got to. That's the Protoss way. You got to have heart. But here we go. The Adepts are here.
Okay, if you get a bunch of
He's
queens,
chopping the queens down.
yeah, then the Void Rays make sense. I'm not sure if I like that shade. Even though he's going to take care of the links, can he take care of more queens? Then Void Rays could make sense. It's going to be Oracles,
Max
maybe?
Oracle.
Okay, I mean, he got a couple queens already, so that's nice.
That's
Wow,
nice.
look at Snoot's economy, Jeff. It's in shambles, man. That's 33 drones. That's not much.
No. And the Adept Harass doesn't have to stop there, by the way. Now, one of the things he has to be careful about is a counterattack. Okay, just now the second Oracle, by the way. So a little bit of a, that is the MaNa special. You get kind of a weird, not necessarily the most crisp timing on that stuff.
But this
He
counter-attack
gets caught out, yeah.
it's not going to do much, though. I mean, it's a bunch of Adepts with Resonating Glaives, and then the Stargates. He could make a Desperation Void Ray if it feels like the Roach count is truly too much to deal with.
Seeing the Oracles over here, though, is so much better for Snute than seeing him back at his base. Like, if 6 Oracles show up and he wasn't ready for it, he just dies.
That's true. I think Snoot should still maybe trade out his units a little bit. He's going to pick off this Stalk, and he's going to be able to get a counter on that battery as well. If Snoot can take down like 15 probes, then this is obviously worth it, but that is a very clutch force field by MaNa.
My God, the timing on that force field is brilliant. It stops him from almost certain doom to turning this around and making a big win. Snute does know about the Oracles. He sees 2 of them, but just seeing 2 Oracles, by the way, doesn't necessarily tell you it's 2 Stargates. Now, that being said, well, I was going to say, but MaNa's actually still ramping up to now 5 Oracles and taking a 3rd. And Oracles have that weird thing, by the way. This is so MaNa, where it's like, they're actually really good. When 10 Oracles show up, they can either just flat out die or they vaporize everything. And the difference is kind of subtle. It's crazy to watch.
That is a very late Lara, by the way. I know that this has been an annoying game for Snoot. I know that he's been hatch blocked and then he had to deal with those Resonating Glaives attacks. He made a bunch of units. That is still a very late Lara, which means how is he going to take a fort base? I honestly think that the Oracles can just deny his fort.
Yeah.
And if MaNa is going to play 3-base Protoss against 3-base Zerg, he's always going to be okay. Even if those Oracles don't achieve anything. Oh my goodness.
He's droning right now.
Does he still have roaches left, or did he lose all of them?
He has a few, but not many. And it's just mostly these queens, I believe.
Well, here comes these Oracles as well. A couple queens will get picked off. Good transfusions, though. But the Adepts in the main base. There is not much here in the main, so that means more drones will go down. And Snoot is just not getting it together when it comes to getting a solid, good economy in this game, because MaNa is all over the place.
These are slow roaches, keep in mind, too, so they're chasing this down is not panning out. 18, 19 drones dead. The Queens doing what they can. Shades back into the main where there's still more drones. Snute not having a good time. Falling below in supply.
Don't do that. Don't fight the Adepts with your drones, even though a Queen does pop, and now a couple of roaches are going to clean this up eventually.
And Snoot's he's just kind of losing track of it right now. So a lot of the Adepts are getting cleaned up.
But at what cost?
At what cost, indeed. 60 workers for a Protoss player and more coming to the 48. Army supply in favor of Snute, but he's largely in part roaches, some queens, some lings. It's tough. Yeah, he does have close positions. Can he make it work?
No, he shouldn't count. I don't think Snute should ever try to counter here. The best
over here. He can walk the queens over here, right?
I don't
Double robo charge coming in. Not a lot of ground units.
There's no. I mean, I'm not saying that a counterattack is.
I think he has to, Roddy.
I think you're drawn up though, and I think he's kind of doing that at this point because this shield batteries, there is
right, the station pit.
Yeah. It's just too risky. I mean, if he was up 2-0, then I could get behind it and be like, this has been a frustrating game. But if you're down 0-2, I don't think you want to put all your eggs in one basket.
No, I think you're right. But it's just so tough because in StarCraft, right, like too risky is the reason you win and die in this game. And you're down 0-2, you don't take that risk. Now you're facing MaNa with a better economy who's churning out double robo. And what do you have? He's building roaches and queens.
Oh,
Mortals love that.
It's obviously not great to just try to drone up again. He lost 27 drones. That's terrible. But you got to try something.
I agree.
And I think maybe looking back at it, this will eventually be the right choice. Maybe MaNa oversteps his boundaries. MaNa does have some throws in him every now and then.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does go in a little too deep. as these Oracles are going to look for a few more workers, and they will get it. Obviously, 3 Oracles will always find some worker damage. Is there a Queen here? Maybe pull that 1 Oracle back. That was a little bit sloppy.
Maybe not. Maybe just let it die. That's okay, too. So there's the 2 Oracles. But he gets a full tour of everything Snute has, right? So he's seeing just now a 4th base is being attempted. He's seeing late what he thought was Hydras, but as you point out, it's going to be Swarm Hosts.
I like it, though, because desperate times call for desperate measures. Right. That's why I like it. I think if you go Hydras, after all the damage you've taken in this game, you're going to get steamrolled. There is simply no way. I mean, we already know that this is tough for Hydras against Archons, Immortals, but if you've taken that much economic damage, if it's that late, you need a crazy play. I'm not saying that Swarm Hosts are great in this matchup, but sometimes you get those great Locust fights, you may as well.
You got it, you know. Sometimes when stuff gets really rough, you just kind of get more crazy, I suppose. The Slings are going to find that 4th base. It's quite the distance, and that is one thing worth mentioning with the creep spread and their base positions. If Snute can get this to the late game, a 4th base is kind of hard to secure. It's really far away. But here we go. The first wave from these Swarm Hosts are going to try to do something.
I mean, MaNa has no idea, even though he spotted the infestation pit. I'm not sure. I would have liked to see those Locusts actually go into the main base. Instead, he's going to try to pick up a couple of these High Templars, I assume. I would have liked to see him send it into the main, get a Nexus. Why not?
Yeah, and actually, MaNa just kind of inadvertently doing a really good move here where he engages far away enough. By the time these Locusts get down, maybe they kill a cannon.
Yeah, and that's obviously not what you're hoping for with your big Locust wave. I think if those Locusts would have all gone to main, gets a couple of probes, so it wasn't nothing, but obviously you hope for more. I understand that.
But he reveals the strategy.
Yeah, and I understand he wanted to go for the High Templars, but like you said, MaNa did a great job in just pulling back.
Well, all right, Hive Tech and now Hydra's coming out for Snute. He's shown that he is going Swarm Host here, and MaNa's going to push out.
I mean, a couple of Locusts is not going to stop this army, but that's not an invincible Protoss army yet. 1 High Templar does get picked off. Now a few more Archons show up. That debris has already been taken care of. Where are all your Locusts, Snute? And he has to be careful that they don't all clump up, because if they all go for the same target, Archons can splash. There is Storm available as well.
But the first Archon dies almost immediately. Storm getting on top of those Locusts as well. Queen's anchoring a lot of this damage. And here comes some Hydras, but it's mostly a Swarm Host army behind this, and now he's going to pull the drones of Snute. That isn't going to do it. MaNa is crushing down on this. Where are the Swarm Hosts? But now, just sheer volume of mass coming in.
Wow.
Hydra's dealing the damage. They're able to do it.
Beautiful position there in the end by Snute. The storms were massive, but Snute lives for now again.
67 probes to 42 drones.
No, that's terrible, Jeff, and I was absolutely going to go there. But the fact that he survived there is already impressive, because it looked very, very dicey. Now maybe Snute can finally do some counter damage on his own. Send a big wave of Locusts into the main base. Get a Nexus or the Natural for all I care. I don't think you should try to go for a single Archon here. I think you need more.
He's just going to push now. He thinks the Protoss lost enough to kind of do this.
I mean, getting an Archon is
Locust
nice.
jump on top of that, but it's not a very deep jump. They're having a weird angle on this cannon that's getting recharged here. A lot of Zerg is here. I don't think those Templar have very many Storms, maybe 1 each. And now more Locusts jump on top of that as well.
He gets a couple of High Templars there. I don't think he's going to get the Archon, but losing the Hydras hurts, though, when you have 45
stay
probes.
here. There's harass going on in the backfield. We have to see what's happening at the Natural. The 4th base has been shut down. Some Zealots, or excuse me, some Adepts making their way in here. 44 workers still for Snute. Snute's making 7 drones. So he's not all in on this concept that he has to win right now, but MaNa's also pushing back those right now barren Swarm Hosts.
MaNa is so rich. MaNa doesn't have to make this attack. You've got 1,600 minerals in the bank, but he's probably just like, you know what? I know how much economic damage I've done. As long as we're trading, this is okay, because I am so much richer than you. And that's obviously the harsh reality here for Snute.
Some Zealots going to kind of distraction, but grab a couple of drones here, even maybe a 3rd. No, never mind, just a merciful Zealot. Backs away. Chaotic game here. Oh, okay, I'm done. I'm not done, actually. I have to commentate the rest of this, but Zealot came back and killed some more drones. And Snute's going to push back and forth now. He's just adding Hydras to this. Now, keep your eye on that production tab. There's no upgrades for the Zerg. It's got +2 range attack, but that's it.
I think the story of this series has just been that MaNa, even in this game as well, has probably killed over 50 drones at this point. And Snute killed, what, 3 probes? I mean, that tells the entire tale of this game. I mean, there's just no economic damage being done from my Zerg, while MaNa is all over the place.
He might get caught out here in the middle. Who's trapped with who? Here come the Locusts, but it's just a lackluster first wave. Second wave's the bigger one. And MaNa's going to kite backwards, kind of wisely so, not engaging those free units.
A couple High Templars coming in from the right side. Maybe Snute can get those. He gets one.
That's it.
Knock down the debris.
Now Snute's holding on to this. A 5th base going down for our Protoss player, and a massive warp in. Zealot's going to jump on top of this base. Zealot's Not going to be enough. But he respects the Hydras behind the mineral line.
I'm actually impressed that Snute managed to get +2 missile attacks during all of this, but this means that this hatchery is very exposed and will get picked off. That War Prism still going on in the main base as well. MaNa has a lot of money, but he's
foremost. They don't have a payload. A couple dump off, but that's not going to be enough. Here comes the rest. You're going to jump on top of that Archon, which does, as Roddy said earlier, give them a clumped space here. Hydras do get the Warp Prism. Snute's holding on, man. He's trying his best he can. MaNa's all over the place. But now the Immortals are exposed. There's nothing there to buffer. Hydra's coming in.
Wow.
Can they kill these Immortals? It's going to be a bloodbath. They go back and forth on this. Both players are bloodied.
Yeah, most Immortals will go down. The Archon gets picked off, and that's obviously very nice for Snute.
So much money behind it.
Yeah, but I mean, Snute just doesn't have much behind it. Well, MaNa has all the infrastructure still. He has all the bases. He's getting cannons. Even took a 5th base during all of this. That's like typical MaNa, right? He ends up losing everything, but he's so far ahead economically.
Yeah.
MaNa just needs time. He doesn't have any Storm available, I believe, at this point. And Snute, I mean...
This is like a good game, but it's a Dark Shrine away from being a bad game. Snute can't handle any of that. He's got the Overseer here. He's going to try to push this high ground, but there's Immortals coming out. Two more on deck.
With shield batteries. Now, Locusts are pretty damn good against Immortals.
Look at the Warp in. And the rest of the army.
High Templars coming in from the north side. Now I do believe that they have a couple...
This might be Snute's swan song, man. He's getting cleaned up. He's trying to push with what he's got, but there's no money behind this. Production tab shows army for days. They do get the Templar, but that's it. Snute's going to tap out, and MaNa 3-0s his teammate to go to the semifinals. What a showing from that Protoss player.
Comeback of the Year award already, Jeff. MaNa out of nowhere makes it into the top 4 here at WCS Austin. The only Protoss in the quarterfinals will also, of course, be the only Protoss in the semifinals. And he did it in a really cool way, Jeff. He brought out the cannons, the Chatter in game number 1. He showed us some different stuff in game number 2 where he truly played to the strength of Dreamcatcher. And then in that final map, I mean, I love all the strategic choices that he made.
Yeah, what a beautiful game there. We're going to go to Sue on the stage with MaNa and hear from the winner himself.
Thank you very much, guys. MaNa, I mean, what is going on? Yesterday, you 3-0'd the 3-time WCS champion Neeb. Today, you 3-0'd the most successful non-Korean player of all time in Snute. I mean, what the heck?
It's like 2012 again, I guess. This is the DreamHack of 3-0s, I guess. We have very little close series, so I'm happy that I could win first game, so I'm like, okay, it's a 3-0.
Well, despite the fact that the series was a 3-0, the games themselves were so entertaining to watch, starting with that cannon rush in the first game. But I do want to talk about Dreamcatcher, because at one point it did look a little bit dicey for you, especially when you lost the Prism and the Oracle. So walk us through what went through your mind at that moment.
It was looking very good for me after the Ling kind of pressure fail, because I was expecting this. And then I didn't unload the Archons from the Warp Prism because the Oracle hotkey for the cancel the attack of the Oracle is the same for unloading the units from the Warp Prism. So I just miscontrolled a little bit, and I was like, God damn it, this is not ladder. So I got really frustrated, but I know he was on such a low drone count because of the Zergling early attack and just had so many queens and roaches, so I knew if I just have to defend through the middle, and yeah, I was happy that I could have so many sentries just to defend barely there.
And then it went on to Darkness Sanctuary, and that game was just so interesting too. There was a lot of push and pull there, but luckily your resources seemed to carry you through to the end. So talk to us about that game.
That's like Zest Macro right there. I think I got super fortunate. This is the thing that I don't like about Darkness Sanctuary, because I scouted Snute first. I was able to block his hatchery. Therefore, he didn't know which way he has to put his expansion. Is it to the top or to the right? He chose the wrong direction, and I was right there. So I got very fortunate at that game. But I mean, it's a 3-0 for me, so I'm just happy.
Definitely, 3-0 has to feel damn good. And now moving forward, you're going to be playing either Special or a Laser for that opportunity to make it to the Grand Finals after almost 3 years now. Special or Laser, I was looking at the head-to-head records. It's not looking too good, but honestly, you're the dark horse of this event now, so...
I am not like scared of them, but they are, I think, still the favorites against me. I'm taking it one step at a time. I made a lot of mistakes during the games versus Snute, but I have some time to fix them before my next match, so I'll make sure to show better games.
Sounds great. Congratulations again, MaNa. We'll see you in that semifinal match. Nathanius, back to you.
Thank you very much, Smix. MaNa keeping the dream alive for all of the non-Zerg players out there. And I love that he said it after that Cannon Rush victory. He's like, well, all the games in this tournament have been 3-0, so I must be winning after that first map. Just brilliant play, brilliant control by MaNa.
Yeah, I mean, really good logic. We have to check out that stat. Maybe we can get Jeff to crunch the numbers on that one. But I like the way that Pig said it. It felt like every single time MaNa was falling behind, it seems like he was just getting ahead in some weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you're playing in the round of 8 in a dream hack and you have to remind yourself that you're not playing ladder, I think you're probably going to be doing pretty well. And honestly, for MaNa this tournament, I think Smix highlighted it on stage. Just look at the road that he's taken. Like, you look at the opposite sides of the bracket and you're like, okay, well, Cyril goes here in the finals and Neeb goes here. And it doesn't happen because MaNa is killing everybody. What a tournament run. We're having several runs so far. I mean, Lambo coming out 3-0, MaNa now 3-0. His way up there. Eventually, it'll be impossible to win with a 3-0 because the finals is a best of 7, which I think might be the only thing stopping.
Is that the only way we don't get a sweep because it's impossible to have a 3-0 in the finals?
I crunched those numbers already, I know.
All right. That's that was definitely a hell of a series, and MaNa, just so crazy to see him coming up here. He's doing so well. I mean, big tournament results for him. Like, we go back a few years, you're looking at like WCS Krakow, which feels like a lifetime ago, where he was playing in front of the Polish crowd. But I don't know what it is. It's a little bit of magic coming from him.
You know, I think it's some of the more passionate, I would say, emotional-based players that really feel the wins and really feel the losses. Those are the players that oftentimes end up being the ones that are very momentum-based. When you get a big win and you beat someone like Neeb, then you just have a lot of momentum going in your favor as well, and you just start playing better and better and better. I mean, there are a lot of players like that. Puck comes to mind as well. I know you're a big fan of Puck, Nathaniel. So, I feel like he's going to be looking really good. I know he's an underdog in the next match, but I am actually really feeling the MaNa vibe.
I don't think it matters that he's an underdog anymore because he's already beaten 2 players that, frankly, he should not have. So let's take a look at the bracket as it's been updated. We have one more match to bring you here in the quarterfinals before we get to that top 4. It's going to be a Laser versus Special. That's MaNa's next opponent. So we got a Terran versus Zerg coming. Any quick thoughts on this series before we go to break?
I would say if we have a hope for a non-3-0 series, that might just be it. Laser's been looking fantastic. Special, of course, made it to the top 4 of WCS Leipzig, so it's also looking very, very strong. It's going to be a TvZ, so no more mirror matches out there. And I just am really excited to see what happens there because I think it could be very close.
Yeah, and of course, it's also important to remember that there is that Unity house run by No Regret where a Laser has been spending a lot of time there. Special has been living there for quite a while. So I don't think it's that big of a leap to say that they probably know each other's playstyle really well. They probably know a lot about each other. And it's going to be also kind of not quite a teammate game like MaNa versus Snute, but there's probably going to be a decent amount of mind games going on.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your input and feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our last quarterfinal coming up next. Terran versus Zerg. Don't go anywhere. This is the World Championship Series.